You may be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is a case of Hauser versus Campbell.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Ms. Hauser, you claim your ex-husband unexpectedly walked out on you when your son, Michael Campbell, was 5 months old. You say your son has had medical problems since he was a child, and you have petitioned the court for a DNA test in order to hopefully find a solution for a life-debilitating condition. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Campbell, you say you never believed the plaintiff's son belonged to you, and today's result will prove your case and clear your name. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Hauser, how positive are you that the defendant is your son's father?
100%, Your Honor.
You are. Explain.
Mr. Campbell and I met when I was a junior and he was a senior in high school. And what ended up happening was mid to late July, early August, I became pregnant. We discussed it and we figured out to get married. We eloped.
And why did you make that decision?
Because Mr. Campbell's father hated me.
Really?
Oh, yes. Absolutely could not abide me.
They didn't even know you were getting married at all?
No, they didn't know I was pregnant then either.
They did not?
No, ma'am, they did not, Your Honor.
And so you made the decision, Mr. Campbell, to elope with Ms. Hauser?
Yes,
You
Your
knew
Honor.
she was pregnant,
Yes.
and your family, they were not fond of this union.
My father wasn't, no.
And so you're pregnant,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
get married. Did you get married because you were in love, or did you get married because you found out you were pregnant?
I actually thought it was both, Your Honor.
How about you, Mr. Campbell?
I would agree with that. I thought it was both.
You did.
Yes.
So when you got married, because of the baby and also because you loved her, did you think you were this child's biological father?
No.
You did not.
No, I never believed for 1 second it was.
Ms. Hauser, you seem surprised.
Oh, very surprised. If Mr. Campbell was not Michael's father, why did he sign the birth certificate? Why, when we got divorced, did Mr. Campbell and his family try to get custody of Michael?
Mr. Campbell,
That is complete.
did you sign the birth certificate?
No, ma'am. I was in basic training in the Army when Michael was born.
Did anybody bring a copy of this birth certificate?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Jerome, let me see that. So wait, Ms. Hauser, you're saying that Mr. Campbell signed the birth certificate?
The Army base of Fort Jackson supplied a copy of it and they sent it back to the state of Missouri, and that is what it looks like now.
And Mr. Campbell, you say you weren't aware of this?
No, ma'am. I've never seen that.
You've never seen the birth certificate?
Well, I have one at home now, but I didn't for many, many years.
So you know Dennis R. Campbell is listed as father?
Yes, but I didn't list me on there. I was in basic training. I had no idea.
You don't remember receiving an
No.
acknowledgement or anything to sign?
No, ma'am.
But
I
at
do
that
not.
time, you all were married?
Yes,
So the
ma'am,
child
we
was
were.
born within the marriage?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I want to understand this. You're saying you knew as soon as when you married her that this wasn't your child.
Yes, ma'am.
So why marry a woman that's pregnant with another man's child and you don't believe there's any possibility that it's yours?
She was my first love, and we were kids, and I thought, we would make the perfect high school romance, live together forever, ignorance is youth kind of thing.
That's very well put. It's very well put.
And there are no other possibilities.
No, ma'am, there is not.
So,
Your Honor.
Mr. Campbell, I'd like to understand your doubt. Why do you doubt?
Well, when Peggy and I were together, we broke up right after I graduated, before summer had started. And we didn't get back together until August of 1980. So there was just no possible way the timing would have worked out.
When you do the math and count back from the date of birth, you were not together, is what you're saying.
That is correct.
You don't see it that way, Ms. Hauser?
No, Your
How
Honor,
do
I
you
don't.
remember it?
I just don't understand how Mr. Campbell can say that we were broke up. We were not broke up. We were together.
When was the first time you heard he had doubts? Because he married you and...
4 years ago.
Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened?
I had finally contacted him because Michael had questions about his medical conditions. He wanted to know if I could get a hold of his dad to get some kind of a copy of the family medical history, because Michael is disabled, and he has been practically all his life. That's when I first heard from Mr. Campbell. Why would I send that? He's not my kid. At the time, Michael was 31 years old. And I'm sorry, it pissed me off.
And I can see that it really hurts you as well.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I was faithful to this man the entire time we were together. We never broke up, Dennis, you know it. And to be literally called a whore and stated to my son that I am, no, that ain't working. We're gonna prove this.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. The point when you and Mr. Campbell were married.
Yes, ma'am.
And Michael is born. Where does the relationship go wrong? How do you end up divorced?
The relationship, Your Honor, went bad when I joined Mr. Campbell in South Carolina while he was enlisted. And then when Michael was 4 months old, I moved into a mobile home court with a boyfriend and a girlfriend and one of their friends, and Michael and I. It was a 3-bedroom. There was nothing going on between any of us. It was just cheaper to live that way. Mr. Campbell came to see me because he was in the Army. He was on the base all the time. He came, he gave me some money to pay my share of the rent, and that was the last I saw him.
That was the last you saw him?
Yes, ma'am, until 2 weeks later when I was served with divorce papers and custody papers.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes, please, sir.
During the time that Peggy and I were originally dating, before we ever got married, we'd split up because she had cheated on me. A friend of mine had called me up and said, "Hey, I was with your girl last night," which is why we broke up. Why I married her? Like I said earlier, I was young. I thought I loved her. I thought no matter what, I wanted to try. And then we broke up the second time because that third party that she was living with in South Carolina, I ended up catching them in bed together.
Really?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, I came home from leave unexpectedly one weekend, and I came in, and Peggy was in bed with her shirt off, and this gentleman was walking out of the bedroom with his shirt off.
Did that happen, Ms. Hauser?
No, ma'am, it did not.
Yes, it did.
What was your recollection of it, Ms. Hauser?
He came home unexpectedly, as he said. He was playing with Michael. He met the couple and the other gentleman I was living with. He jumped to conclusions the minute he met this man, even though he and I and the couple that were with us denied it.
Was anyone's clothes off at the time?
No.
So, Mr. Campbell, you say you remember this happening.
Very well.
And what
yes.
was your response when you saw this?
Well, I started yelling at her, I'm sure, and I packed up my stuff and left, basically.
What was life like, Ms. Hauser? You're a single mom at this point with a child that has medical challenges.
After the divorce, I went back to Wisconsin, where I had grown up part of my life, and I still had friends there. And Michael had a cast on his left leg from the time he was 1 hour old. He was born with a deformity where his leg was wrapped around his stomach to his back. He was without a third of his ligaments and a third of his tendons. And as he got older, we noticed something wasn't right. He ended up having a rare form of epilepsy
Okay.
on top of it. So we're dealing with that. And then when he turned 12, he had the first diagnosis of manic depression.
I can imagine this has been taxing. I mean, literally, physically,
Financially.
financially, emotionally, and you've been through a lot. Did Mr. Campbell ever help
No.
pay child support?
He paid child support to the state of Wisconsin because I had Michael on social services because I couldn't afford his meds. I really couldn't. And in fact, my husband and I had to file for bankruptcy because we couldn't take care of the bills.
So, Mr. Campbell, did you know this was going on?
Well, no, I wasn't aware that he had issues such as that. Peggy and I, well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hauser and I, we never really spoke after we
the
divorced.
divorce.
So I really didn't know what was wrong with Michael.
Paid child support, but you never asked.
That is correct.
He paid child support, Your Honor, but he fought it every time he had a chance. Your Honor, I couldn't find Mr. Campbell. I knew from our previous emails that he had a son named Brian. That's how I contacted him 4 years ago.
And he's here today. Sir, will you please stand? Thank you for joining us today. Do you believe that Michael, Ms. Hauser's son, is also your father's biological son?
No, I do not, Your
You
Honor.
don't. Why?
Just based on all the history and everything I've known of my father, I mean, he's been a great father.
So you feel because of the way your father has treated you, you think he would never do this to another child that could possibly be his biological child?
Yes, Your Honor.
I have some photographs, Your Honor, on the resemblance between my son and...
I'd like to see that. Jerome? And these are photographs of...
Michael as a teenager and Dennis as a teenager.
And you believe you see a resemblance?
There is a resemblance there, but Michael also looks like Mr. Campbell's father as he got older.
Do you see a resemblance, Mr. Campbell?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
How about you, Brian?
Maybe somewhat.
The only thing he didn't get is your nose. He got mine. It's a little bit pugged.
So, Mr. Campbell,
I have one.
when you walked out, when Michael was 5 months old, and you decided to leave the marriage, did you just close the door completely and never look back, and you just kind of it feels like you considered this child support just tax you had to pay on a marriage you shouldn't have gotten yourself in?
Well, something along those lines, yes.
So, Ms. Hauser,
Yes, Your Honor.
you are 100% sure that Mr. Campbell is Michael's biological father.
Your Honor.
And Mr. Campbell, you are 100% sure you are not.
That is correct.
Well, listen, I'm happy you're here today. And I'm happy that we can bring you one step closer to hopefully resolution and figuring out how to move forward. There seems like there's so much animosity, so much, it's like so much time has passed. There's so much history and then there's so little.
Yes.
Because it's that you
Well, I have
got
one more
married
thing.
and then you just separated and never looked back. We've got to get this straightened out. I think it's time to go to the results. Jerome? Thank you. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Hauser versus Campbell, when it comes to Michael Campbell, it has been determined by this court. Do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. Mr. Campbell, you are not the father.
Oh, my.
Well, Ms. Hauser, 35 years. You were so certain that there was no other person that you had entertained because you had been completely faithful to him. That just is not true. The DNA has
Yeah, I have
spoken.
no clue. I don't recall anything. We were never broke up. We were constantly together.
You don't have to break up to make a baby with someone.
I know, but I would have to ask Mr. Campbell because apparently he knows.
Well, this is a first. Mr. Campbell, do you have any idea? And I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm saying this for this child because her son is experiencing medical challenges, severe medical challenges.
Your Honor, from what I was told, because we were separated during that summer, someone had mentioned a name of a classmate to me.
Just give me the first name. Does that ring a bell?
If it's the same one I'm thinking of, not in your life. And plus, he died 2 years ago.
All right. This is difficult because you are going to have to find a way to explain this to your son.
Yeah.
And in that explanation, you're going to have to own up to the fact that at this point in time, you don't have any clue who his biological father is. And Mom, you're going to have to do what it takes. Ask questions, have a conversation with Mr. Campbell, call old classmates. If my son was on the line, it would be shame in my game. I don't care.
Exactly.
This matters. We have had doctors testify in this courtroom about how when they ask you for your medical history, it's not just because they want to know your business. They're trying to figure out how to help you, how to save your life. What is the other half of your makeup so that they can understand what they can do to make you healthier and whole. This is important information for a young man that's going through what he's going through. And I really, like I said, in this moment, I don't want you to crouch or I don't want you to step back because in this moment, we've discovered that no, you weren't just with Mr. Campbell. This is about Michael. We have resources and counseling for you. I want you to take advantage of it because I want you to help him do whatever it takes to get to his father. I wish you the very best of luck. Court is adjourned.